right, it is 6 o'clock. I will call us back into session from our last recess. The reason for tonight's meeting is a public hearing on the proposed real estate taxes. Mr. Bear, I'll turn over the meeting to you.
Would you like for me to read the notice of public hearing, Mr. Chairman, or? I'll be glad.
Better you than me.
Okay. In compliance with 58.13321 of the Code of Virginia, Wythe County proposes to increase property tax levies. The assessment increase, the total assessed value of real property excluding additional assessments due to new construction or improvements to property exceeds last year's total assessed value of real property by 20.4%. The lowered rate necessary to offset the increased assessment. The tax rate, which would levy the same amount of real estate taxes last year, when multiplied by the new total assessed value of real estate, with the exclusions mentioned above, would be 45 cents per $100 of assessed value. This rate will be known as the lowered tax rate. The effective rate increase. Wythe County proposes to adopt a tax rate of 52 cents per $100 of assessed value. The difference between the lowered tax rate and the proposed rate would be 0.07 cents per $100, or 15.6%. This difference will be known as the effective tax rate increase. Individual property taxes, however, may increase at a percentage greater or less than the above percentage. The proposed total budget increase, based on the proposed real property tax rate and changes in other revenues, the total budget of Wythe County will exceed last year's by 65%. A public hearing on the increase will be held on Tuesday, May 31st, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the boardroom of the County Administration Building, 340 South 6th Street, Wytheville, Virginia, 24382, by order of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors. That concludes the notice of the public hearing. Members of the board, tonight's public hearing is regarding the real estate tax rate for calendar year 2022. This public hearing has been held separate from our regular budget public hearing. Since this calendar year, we will have the new real estate values from reassessment. Wythe County conducts reassessments every 5 years. This year's reassessment shows an overall increase of 20% in the assessed value of the real estate in Wythe County. This equates to an approximate increase of 3.8% per year. Wythe County's current tax rate is 54 cents per $100 of assessed value. The board has advertised a rate of 52 cents per $100. This rate, while lowered, calculates to approximately just over a 15% increase in the effective tax rate. The CPI rate for the last 5 years, Consumer Price Index rate, averages to just over 12%. Wythe County has taken pride in continuing to have the lowest tax rates in our surrounding areas, and the proposed 52 cents leaves us 7 cents below the next lowest county and 22 cents below the highest rate of surrounding counties. Be glad to answer any questions that the board may have, or following the public hearing comments, any questions you might have for staff.
All right, we'll move into the public comment section. I'll call you up. Each person has 5 minutes because it is a, excuse me, because it is a public hearing. The first person signed up is Mr. Timothy Hughes. Mr. Hughes? Mr. Hughes, if you'll come up to the podium.
I have a reassessed value of 81.63%. My building improvements went from 36.4 to 87.5. There were no building improvements, 0. So my increase is 81.63%. My land value went from 35.7 to 44.3. My building improvement went from $400 to $28,800, an increase of 102.49%. Nothing has changed. It's my understanding that when you hired this outside service, if I read this correctly, you had made a mistake. There was no research done. They just came out with these values, it was accepted, and here we are. I don't know what to say to this. In another year, my mortgage payment will go up $100. I'm paying enough already, at least $100, maybe $2, on a mobile home.
Mr. Hughes, did you appeal your reassessment?
Yes, we did.
And the reason I ask, the reason for this meeting is to hear public comment. We usually don't engage, we want to hear what the people think. I will tell you that the comment about the company that we hired, we checked the references, whatever. The newspaper, when they print it, and the reason I say this, they print it, I was very upset because they didn't accept in-person meetings.
I understand. How did you make out?
Excuse me?
How did you personally make out on your property?
42% increase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Oh, you
I
are?
thought it was undervalued, but anyway.
Okay.
But back to the company, we did check their references, whatever. That was part of, and that's got blown because I've had a bunch of people go, well, this company, I understand. That was the part I was upset about. We never put that in the contract, or because we've never had to put that in the contract. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. That was.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. I still don't understand 102%. Do you? With no improvements?
And that's the reason I asked you. I mean, if mine had went up, I would have appealed it.
Yeah, you bet.
And tonight, what we're here to talk about is the tax rate. There's nothing we can do about reassessment. We're required by law to do it every so many years, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, our hands are tied.
Okay, so what's the meeting for? How do we
To talk
solve this
about the
problem?
tax rate. Well, and that's the reason I asked if you appealed it. There's a two-step process.
Okay.
You appeal it to the company, which I understand that some people have gotten a response back and some people haven't. But then the next step is we have a board of equalization, which is made up of Wythe County property owners.
Mhm.
And if you're not happy with the company's answer, then you can appeal that to the local board and we've got, it's a fairly diverse group. We've got some farmers, we've got some, I don't want to offend anybody, call them elderly people, but we've got some retired people.
Sure.
So hopefully
Okay.
they can give you some relief. And I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's all right.
it's-
So at this point, it's just a waiting game for them, correct?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to chip.
No,
you
no,
back.
no, that's fine. I get it. I just, sometimes what you read, we were under the impression that there was a mistake made to begin
No,
with.
I mean,
And I personally, I feel they made a big mistake. I mean, that's a lot.
now,
That's a
and
big
honestly, I
increase.
mean, I can't speak to your specific situation. It's just like you
Sure.
asked me about
Yeah.
my house.
Sure,
You know,
sure. Okay,
I can't argue. It's going, and I've told everybody, had the same conversation with the gentleman, and I'll finish and shut up, but, this afternoon, with my 42%, it's gonna go up. With what the tax rate we've advertised, the lower tax rate, it's gonna cost about $320 more a year. And sitting on this side of the table, knowing where that money goes, investments we've made in fire trucks, rescue squads, stuff like
right,
that.
right.
I have a problem with.
I get that.
But now I'm not in your
Right.
situation.
I
so-
understand. Okay. All right, well, thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
81%, I'd have some questions.
And I got 102% on the others, so, with no improvement. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. You should be getting a letter in the mail from the assessors on that value. And
Would that
then
be coming from Tim?
that, it will be coming from Wampler and Eames Assessment Company.
Okay.
And then, and if you don't receive anything, you can reach out to the number that's on there, or also contact the Commissioner of Revenue's office.
Okay.
And she can help you, she can also help you with, as we have the Board of Equalization meeting.
Great.
So,
Okay.
we can't set the values, they set the tax rate, but the assessed value we set through
I
them.
just came to complain. Thank
I
you.
understand. Thank you.
And folks, I'll say again, this is our chance to hear from you. We usually don't engage, so if we don't, we're not ignoring you. We're, you know, somebody said one time, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And that's kind of what we're doing. All right, next person is Mr. Chris Brown.
Thank you. Hey, I made some copies of a spreadsheet I was using to guide me along. Does that, y'all interested in a copy of that?
Yeah, if you'll give him Mr. Bear, he can pass them out, sir.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys. I didn't have a problem so much with the new assessment values. You know, they're up there quite a bit because there's been some, real estate's been kind of crazy. And it didn't surprise me, and I experienced stuff pretty much like you, Mr. Vaught, that, you know, the property value went up, and I just hope I can sell it for that. Makes the balance sheet look good, anyway. What I found that motivated me to action was I had a problem with, when I looked on the website and saw the verbiage that Mr. Bear was reading there about when you start talking about these percentages, the starting point is the reassessment. And so when you drop out it says you drop out the new and improvements out of the top of it. And so you just drop 40% of the increase out of the conversation when you're talking about how much the tax increases would generate. So I just started putting together this little spreadsheet. If you look with me, and I'm sorry the people in the back, I didn't know what the audio-visual situation would be, but you know, the new assessment gives you about $3.2 billion. And the previous assessment was about 2.3. So you're up quite a bit in the values that you'll use to drive your tax rate off of to levy your taxes. You drop those new improvements out, and that's on the left-hand column under the Wythe County BOS column, and it drops it back to 401, 332. So reduces the increase quite a bit on paper. However, unless I'm mistaken somehow, Wythe County is going to be taxing the entire assessed value of all the real estate out there by the end of the year. So I just didn't understand why that went away. I went ahead and ran the numbers down below, as you can see, at 0.54% on the revised estimate that you guys were working off versus the gross, the $3.2 billion. At 0.54, you had advertised that you had proposed a 0.52, and 0.52 produces a hefty increase as well. But the last year, now you can correct me on this, or maybe you can't. I went to the budget and looked for last year. Looks like your budgeted revenues from real estate was about 1.242 million. 1.242. So, you know, if you lowered the tax rate to 45%, you would, if you're taxing 3.2 billion, you're going to produce about a 16% increase. That's on the next to the bottom line in your revenues from real estate tax. And of course, that would mean that overall we're going to pay about 16% more. And below that, I put my target rate would be more in the neighborhood of like a generous 8%. based on a 0.42% tax rate. So, I don't know, I've run a couple of businesses, I'm just used to looking at the big numbers. If I see revenues coming in that are 8% over last year, that could make me pretty happy. If I saw revenues coming in that were 16% over last year, I'd be ecstatic. And I know you guys have the ability to change the tax rate as is needed going forward. So, I would just hope that you'd use constraint and, you know, minimize or at least soften to the extent that you can, the amount of rate increase. We got, you know, like to fill up the truck there one time next year if I can, things like that, so. But is that sheet, can you follow where I was talking?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I think those numbers are pretty good. Sometimes Excel can whack a couple numbers out, but I looked over it, looks pretty close. So if the revenues are right from last year, that's pretty accurate as to what kind of increase it would give the county, based on the new assessment.
All right,
Make
thank you,
sense?
sir.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for that. That's- All right, next person we have signed up is, I can't read the first name, but I think the last name is Smithers. What was the first name, ma'am?
Janie.
Okay. That was gonna be my guess, but I didn't want to say Janie and it'd be a Johnny.
Well, I think we're in the same situation as the first gentleman that came up. We did appeal our tax reassessment. Maybe this is not, sounds like it wasn't the right place to come about this, but since we're here, I'll let you know that there's been no improvements to our house, and in 5 years, it's gone up by $65,500. The land has gone up by $35,400. And like I said, no improvements to the house, and it's just a piece of land. That land is valued at $3,700 an acre. And 3 miles up the road from us, we own an additional 6 acres, and that was valued at $2,500 an acre. So we didn't understand why the extremes of, you know, the increases. You expect there to be reassessments and increases, but, you know, there's no amenities. We're out in a rural section, and just felt like this was way out of line for our property.
Miss Smithers, what's your address? I can't quite make it out.
It's 700 Little
Uh-huh.
Reed Island Road,
Okay.
Barron Springs.
I'm just always curious when people talk about exactly where they live, because one of the things we've heard is different increases depending on,
Yeah, it's like with the other 6 acres, it's not valued at what the land is valued at where our house sits. And it's just a field, hasn't changed any, and neither has the house in the last 5 years. So you say our next step after this is this Board of Equalization?
yes, ma'am, if you appealed your reassessment through the company, they will give you an answer. And if you're not happy with their answer, then there's, the following step is the Board of Equalization. And that's the one that's made up of the local people. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, the next person we have signed up is Doug Robinson. Mr. Robinson?
Well, fellas, I can't hear very good, so I'll speak pretty loud. Can't understand why my property went up so much when all around me, everything is either trashed or falling down. I mean, it went up $50,000, plus I pay another $50,000 on it for the town, which is $100,000, and between the next year, 5 years, that's $500,000, and my whole place that's twice what my place is worth, more than twice. And if they can get to what they value it at, well, I'll take it today. you know, if any of them wants to buy it, any of them there Wampler or Eanes or either one of them wants to buy my place, you tell him come over there and hand me the money and I'll sign the deed. What I need is, understand is, I got a place, 3 places. One on the left side is a lodge. It's a black people's lodge. It's been there since 1912. Never paid a dime taxes, and since 1912. Now, much would that add up? That's worth more than all my property together, and they ain't paying and still ain't paying. I tried to buy the place, tear it down, because it's full of rodents. They come down on me and aggravate me. The town has condemned it. It's been condemned for over 2 years now. They ain't doing a thing about it. Town can't do nothing about it. For over 15 years, maybe even longer, nobody even claimed it. All the old members are dead, and they lost their membership, and the place just sat there and went down. It's falling apart. All the junk off of it falls over on me. And finally, this is a place out of Stanton, Virginia, this lodge. They said, we're going to claim it. We'll have it. Well, they come down and put up a couple signs, no trespassing. That's all they've done. And the town's been trying to call them and trying to get them to do something. They say, well, we're not, each month the town calls them. And they say, well, we're not sure if we're going to fix it up or sell it. Well, it would cost probably close to $200,000 to fix it up. They left the roof uncovered for almost a year, and the insides all fell in. The outside's porch and everything, and the bricks and the gutters and the face and everything's all falling down. It's really a bad eyesore, but nobody seems to be able to do anything about it. And so it's next to my place, and I don't think anybody would give me this price if they looked at that place up there and they said, well, I don't think that place is worth that much there, 'cause look what an eyesore he's got on that side. In front of me, got a rental property. They rent it to the cheapest people they can to, not throwing off on nobody. They trash it. They either got the law there every other day, or they trash your place or something like that. And on the other side of me, I got another rental property. He rents his to the lowest bidder, and they trash your place. So I got 3 sides on me. The only place I got is the back end, so that's the only way I can get out of my place without looking at trash is go out the back end. So that's the way I feel like I'm going out the back end. And I don't understand why I'm being penalized for a place that's been there 110 years and never paid a dime of taxes, and they still ain't paying them. They say, well, we're tax exempt. Fine. Why can't I be tax exempt? Ain't nobody living in the darn place. Nobody been there for about 25 years, except for a few old groundhogs and skunks and possums and all that crap. And when they get tired of living right there, they come down on me, eat my gardens up, and aggravate me. Raccoons and everything else comes through there. So I can't figure that out, why I'm being penalized. I feel like I'm being penalized for having them 3 places on the side of me, and then they raise my taxes like that, and it just don't make sense to me. But I wish the man that done that would have to live where I live at and face that every day. I wish he'd get up of the morning and face that lodge, and get up at 12 o'clock and face the one in front of me, and get up at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock and face the one on the other side of me. But I hope you fellers can do something about that, because I am, and then I got another place up the old stage road. It went up 24,000, and all the buildings, it belonged to my mother, and I just got it. And all the buildings is fell down, and there ain't no places around it that they can base what they went up on. And this just needs a lot of improvement, and I don't see how I can try to improve much on it with all that taxes they're putting on it. They didn't take in consideration none of this. They just come by my place or come by the other place up there, and they looked at it and said, boy, what a good looking place there. I bet we can get a lot of taxes out of him. But they didn't bother to go up to the lodge. They should have went up there and got in the lodge there. They could have had a ball up there with all that crap falling down. Or they may have broke their neck if they'd have tried to go in.
All right, Mr. Robinson, that's your time.
Did I take up too much of your time? I hope not.
We appreciate it, and, you know, as far as the property and stuff, I would suggest you go to town council and speak the way you have tonight, and
Well, what's your ideal of trying to get it down?
the what? sir?
What's your ideal? You all hired that bunch. What's your ideal of trying to get these taxes down?
Like I explained earlier, we're looking at the tax rate.
Speak up, I can't hear you.
We're looking at the tax rate. That is the process of, or the purpose of this meeting.
Well, the tax rate ain't gonna get that much money down, I don't believe. You'd have to go down 5 cents.
Well,
Y'all willing to go that low?
Sir, you gonna let me speak?
I say, are you all
Are
willing
you
to go
gonna let
that low?
me speak?
Huh?
We advertised at 52. We can't go above 52, but we can lower it. That's
All
where
right.
we're at, so, all right.
Is that the only thing, that's as far as y'all going down, is just 52?
We don't know.
Oh, you don't know yet?
This is the
Okay.
first step of deciding what we're gonna set the tax rate.
Okay. If y'all can go down low enough to make up for what they've put on there, well, I sure would appreciate it. I
Thank you, sir.
appreciate all you guys. I don't hope I didn't offend nobody. I mean, sometimes I get mad when I go to talking, and it's not good.
Me too.
Yeah. I let my, what's his name, outload my brain, you know.
Thank you, sir. All right, the next person we have signed up is Chris Reeves. Mr. Reeves?
Thank y'all for taking time to put this on this evening. I'm here just like everybody else talking about the tax appraisals. I understand they're necessary to some degree. The amounts, you know, that's probably up for a different discussion. But, you know, my concern with it is, and I want to address it to the board, is what am I getting out of this? So I know in 2012, I sat and listened to the president of the country at the time talk about we're going to get high-speed internet in inner cities and rural communities. I've lived in this county for 15 years. I've heard we're going to get county water, county sewer, high-speed internet. I've still not seen none of that. I know, Mr. Balch, you mentioned the fire trucks and things of that nature, and I really agree with the purchases of that for the county. But there are still residents in this county that don't have county water, county sewer, high-speed internet. So, you know, my increase was 37%. I've heard people, 66% was the highest I'd heard until today, till I heard this gentleman and lady over here at 80-some%. So, seems like it's all over the board. Again, mine don't sound as bad as it did earlier, but I still think it's a little bit high. If we were getting bang for our buck out in the edge of the county, I live out in the Fort Chiswell district, so I've talked to my board of supervisors about that in the past. He's aware of it, so just want to address that with the board and make sure that is a big concern for the communities out further out in the counties.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Yes, sir.
I'll never sit up here and promise you that every place in the county will have county water, because that's not gonna happen.
Understood.
But I will sit up here and tell you, you will have high-speed internet.
Well, that'd be all right with me.
Where are we at on, what's the time frame, Mr. Hankins?
Point Broadband has been awarded the contract from DHCD, the Virginia Office Broadband, to connect everybody, every unserved and underserved 911 address in the county by this time in 2024. So
I couldn't
within
remember- I
the
couldn't
next 2
remember the
years.
so-
So that's good news.
And I'm pretty, I know the area you live, and I'd say you're underserved.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't have anything up there.
I can't even watch streaming movies,
Yeah, so that, I can't sit up here, we can't sit up here and make many promises, but I'll make you that.
that's good. Hey, if it's in the works, I'm good with it.
It's about $100 million project between us, Smith County and Washington County to do that many.
Yeah.
But I think it'll serve 27 or 28,000 new customers throughout the planning district, so.
Good deal. Yeah, that's good news.
And they're just getting started. You won't see any progress probably for a little while because they've got a lot of stuff to order and they got contractors they've got to hire, so.
Understood.
They've already got it in some areas, and I tell you, the crazy part about it is, we all pushed for it, you know, especially after the kids were stuck at home, we started hearing about the areas that didn't have, and lo and behold, I've got a farm, and I went out there, and there's a sign one day, now available. I said, hey, that's great. So I looked it up and used the address, and, it's cheaper than I'm paying in Retreat, but I don't qualify because I'm not considered underserved. They don't service my area.
Yeah.
But it's cheaper than what I'm paying now.
So about 2 more years, we'll all be
There you go.
better shape.
But thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank y'all.
All right.
Mr. Horny's district should have everything complete by January or February is the latest update there. They're in the earlier grant, so.
Speedwell's got cell phones.
The whole district?
That's what they tell me.
That's about a quarter of the county.
Speedwell's got cell phone and internet. Come to the front, sir. All right, that's all we had signed up to speak during the citizens' time portion. Was there anybody that wanted to speak, didn't sign up? All right, seeing no hands fly up, I'll close the citizens' time portion of the hearing. Mr. Barrett, do you have anything to add?
There are a couple of business items.
Oh,
One,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, you were talking about the Board of Equalization. How do we go about getting in touch with them?
They,
do you want to help out, Ms.?
When the hearings are over with Wythe and Reeves and they send out the letters of the changes they've made or not changed,
Yeah.
which they'll probably get that done maybe around the middle of June.
That's not this, is it?
I don't know what have you got.
Well, sorry.
That, yes, that's coming from that. That's
Okay.
Wythe and Reeves, that's the reassessment notice.
Okay.
After 30 days after that, the Board of Equalization will begin their hearings.
Okay.
That will be advertised in the newspaper.
Will we have,
It will also be advertised at the library and probably on the Wythe County website.
okay.
At that point, you can call in and make an appointment, and they will keep having hearings until nobody else wants to be heard.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you.
Hope you can hear that on YouTube. I hope you can hear that on YouTube, because people need to.
and just,
And that will be with real people, not just with emails.
and just to clarify, because we do put our meetings on YouTube, they will include the information, Wamplerines will include that information of how to contact the Board of Equalization to set up a meeting, correct?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I don't,
Well, we'll have it on our website.
Yeah, we'll have the advertising.
And it'll be in the newspaper and all that, so, all right. Mr. Baird, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Hankins has a couple of items to go over, and then I would like for us to go into a closed session, but if you'd like to take a 5-minute recess, Mr. Chairman, before we do that?
Okay. That concludes the public hearing. We don't make a decision tonight. Like I said earlier, this is just the first step of us hearing from the citizens. The way it looks this year, we still don't have a state budget, so we probably won't pass a budget until the end of June, because we're waiting on the state. But like I said, we don't make a decision tonight. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to hear from you folks. For all of you that are appealing your assessment, I wish y'all the best. Unfortunately, we don't have the power as a board to say, well, you know, 86%'s wrong, we're gonna put you down 32%. That's not the way the state's set up, so. But, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess, and then we've got some stuff to do. You're more than welcome to stick around. If not, thanks for coming out. I'm sorry.
No, and I just want to add one thing. Public hearing on the budget is June 14th. If you'd like to attend the public hearing on the budget, definitely. Just want to pass that. Thank you.
All right, we'll be in recess for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all.
Order from recess. Mr. Hankins has a few things. Mr. Hankins?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry that I have to bring this to the board, but we've got a couple of things that are on the pressing side that we need to resolve before you meet on June 14th. So the first one, you accepted the $85,000 grant awarded from the Virginia Tourism Corporation for the ARPA tourism funds. These are the ones that are designated for our destination marketing organization to spend in new markets to try to attract visitors to come here. The Wythe Convention and Visitors Bureau has been expending funds, and we're repaying them on a reimbursement basis. We found, though, that we received the invoice from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, but we did not go beyond accepting the grant. We didn't ask for you to appropriate that, so we're asking you to appropriate the first half of the Virginia Tourism Corporation ARPA tourism funds, $85,000, and amend the budget for 11003-325081, and designate that for regional tourism in the amount of $85,000.
So you're asking us to amend and appropriate 85,000 to 11003-325081, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hankins, just clarification, I did not look at that closely. Is that the revenue code, the 1103? We need to add also the expenditure code of 81. Let's put under 7100 regional tourism. Should that be under printing and binding? Would that be fine to stick it in that code? Or just we'll add a different code for this grant?
I would say add a different code.
Add different. We'll put our 7100 with a different code for this grant on the expenditure side.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to amend and appropriate the 85,000 that we received from the ARPA tourism grant.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Terry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Ms. Lawson. Is there any questions or discussion?
Is the regional tourism, is that Wythe County, or is that?
That's the same line item that we pay the $15,000 every year for the new visitors guide. So it made sense for us to put that there. And if we add a new code, it's a one-time code, basically, for this year and next year, to use that $170,000 that the state's awarded us.
Does anybody else have any questions? All right, here and now we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So approved.
The other two items relate to Lead Mine Rescue Squad. The Fire and Rescue Committee heard a request from Lead Mines to spend $5,000 for new equipment that came on the new ambulance that was delivered on Friday. The rescue squad sort of asked that without giving us a lot of advance notice, so we didn't have a chance to verify that they had funds available. They do not have space in their current budget to accommodate that, and on top of that, they're also running low on operational. And that's primarily because of the fuel costs, adding the extra truck to run the extra calls and having to run and staff all the extra calls that they've had this year. So there's two asks. One is that you appropriate $5,000 from reserves to go toward the replacement ambulance, and that's line item 9,000, which is your capital budget, 470,235. That ambulance was delivered on Friday. You have 40,000 currently budgeted, and so our obligation that we've agreed to is 45,000. So in order to get to the point where we can write that check and finalize the payment and the title on that ambulance, we request that you amend and appropriate that $5,000 for capital.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to amend and appropriate $5,000 for the lead mines replacement ambulance.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by, is that you, Jesse? Or Terry?
Either or.
Have a second by Mr. Terry. Is there any questions or discussion on that one? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Terry?
Aye.
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 So approved.
The second half of that, because they are running so close, they do have some expenses that we'll need to undertake for them in June before the new budget starts in July. I anticipate that they'll need an increase of about $1,000 in fuel, about $2,500 in repairs and maintenance. That's primarily for tires, and operating supplies of $1,500. So I would request that you consider that amendment and appropriation.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to amend and appropriate $5,000 from reserves to go toward fuel, repairs and maintenance and operating supplies as Mr. Hankins has laid out in his memo.
So moved.
Have a motion from the gentleman from Fort Chiswell. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second from the gentleman from Lead Mines. Is there any questions or discussion on that? Mr. Hankins, I would ask, and I don't know if Jimmy can get it or what, but I'd like to keep an eye on our fuel costs. You know, one of the questions I get, or I guess we've all got about, you know, the tax rate we've advertised and, you know, where's that extra money gonna go to? And, you know, I've told everybody this $5.60 a gallon diesel fuel, that me and Mr. Horny, purchase, also affects every fire truck and ambulance in the county, as well as the school buses. But can we just keep an eye on that and kind of get a this year versus last year comparison?
We can, and I can tell you just anecdotally, we have a $1,000 limit on the fuel cards for each of the vehicles, and Lead Mines has exceeded theirs, so we've had to up the credit limit to $1,500 on those cards. And that should cover them for a month for those two ambulances, but we would not be in that situation if diesel were still, you know, $3.50. You know, I think that's around what it was budgeted for. You know, since we're, you know, we may see double what it was budgeted for by the end of the current fiscal year. It's hard to account for that. So we'll report back to you on that.
Does anybody else have anything? All right.
There are a couple of requests from other fire departments that are right up against the budget, but those can wait until the budget committee meets next week.
All right. Do a roll call vote. Mr. Cook?
Aye.
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 So approved. Anything else, Mr. Hankins?
Not for me.
You have anything, Mr. Barry?
I would request closed session under 2.23711A3 for acquisition or disposition of property in the Fort Chiswell district.
We're gonna do personnel too.
And let's do it under personnel, A1.
All right, entertain a motion to go into closed session under 2.2-3711A1, discuss personnel matters, and 2.2-3711A3, acquisition or disposition of property in the Fort Chiswell district.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Smith, a second by Mr. Cook. Is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We're now in closed session. By Ms. Lawson to come out of closed session. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. We're now in open session. Mr. Terry, if you'll read the certification.
Whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors that such a meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification resolution applies. And only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening this closed meeting were heard, discussed, and are considered by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors. And Mr. Chairman, I'll make that a motion, sir.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Terry to ratify the certification. Do I have a second? Have a second by Ms. Lawson. Is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Terry?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
So approved. Anything else to come before the board?
Just happy birthday, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. Happy birthday.
And I will say, the graduations, last week, I attended all four of them, and they were, all four of them were really nice. Really impressed with the kids and some of the scholarships and awards they won, so. Anyway, does anybody else have anything? All right, we'll be adjourned.